A love story that once defined an era is now being reimagined for a whole new generation. Imagine the streets of Beverly Hills once again, echoing with the magic of Vivian and Edward. But this time, their story isn't about a beginning, it's about what comes after the fairy tale. The first trailer of Pretty Woman to 2025 doesn't just bring back Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. It reignites a timeless romance that audiences thought had ended decades ago. The hook of this sequel is not only nostalgia, but also the promise of rediscovering what love looks like years later. When life has already been lived and choices have already been made, fans around the world are stunned, emotional, and curious about how the next chapter will unfold. Asterisk, when news of Pretty Woman 2 first dropped, many believed it was just a rumor or fan-made concept. After all, it's been more than 3 decades since Julia Roberts walked down the street in those unforgettable thigh-high boots, and Richard Gere leaned out of his limo with a bouquet in hand. The original movie was so iconic, so tightly sealed as a complete story that the idea of continuing it felt impossible. But now the trailer proves it's not only happening, it's happening with the same stars who gave it life. That's where the shock really hit fans. This isn't a reboot with younger actors. This isn't a spin-off. This is Richard Gere and Julia Roberts side by side again, carrying the weight of history, romance, and cinematic magic on their shoulders. The trailer opens with an atmosphere that feels both familiar and entirely new. There's a sweeping shot of Los Angeles, just like the first film, but this time the city feels older, wiser, just like its characters. In a blink, we see Julia Roberts as Vivian, not the young woman in need of rescue, but a confident figure who's lived through decades of love and change. Richard Gere's Edward appears soon after, and the chemistry between them hasn't faded a bit. Their eyes meet in silence, and that silence says more than any line of dialogue could. It's the kind of moment that instantly pulls audiences back into the world they left in. 1990. What makes this trailer so powerful is its ability to acknowledge the passage of time. The charm of Pretty Woman was built on fantasy, but the sequel leans into reality. What happens after the fairy tale? Relationships don't stay frozen in perfect endings. People evolve, grow apart, face challenges, and sometimes rediscover each other in unexpected ways. That's the story Pretty Woman 2 teases, and it's exactly why fans are buzzing. It isn't just about repeating the past. It's about showing a romance that survived time itself. Already the internet is flooded with emotional reactions. Fans are sharing how they cried just watching Gere and Roberts back together. For many, this film isn't just a sequel. It's a piece of their own history being revisited. The first movie shaped how people thought about love, fairy tales, and second chances. Now, the continuation is asking new questions. Can love endure after decades? Can passion survive the trials of time? Can Vivian and Edward remind us all what it means to choose each other again and again? Asterisk, there are very few films that stand the test of time. But Pretty Woman wasn't just a romantic comedy, it was a cultural shift. Released in 1990, the film instantly became a landmark in Hollywood storytelling. Julia Roberts, with her radiant smile and unmatched charm, transformed Vivian from a character on paper into a timeless symbol of hope, resilience, and unexpected love. Richard Gere, with his calm sophistication and quiet vulnerability, gave Edward a depth that made him more than just a wealthy businessman. He became the man who learned that real happiness isn't bought, but found in connection. Together, they created a cinematic chemistry so powerful that it became a benchmark for on-screen romance. The story wasn't just about a man saving a woman. It was about two people saving each other in ways neither expected. Decades later, audiences still quote lines from the movie, rewatch it during rainy nights, and introduce it to new generations. Vivian's famous shopping scene, Edward's opera moment, and of course, the final rooftop rescue remain etched into popular culture. For many, Pretty Woman is more than a film. It's a memory of when love stories could still feel magical, when romance could be both funny and sincere without irony. It was a fairy tale set in the modern world, one that reminded viewers that love could find you in the most unlikely places. The movie's soundtrack, led by Roy Orbison's "Oh Pretty Woman," became an anthem that even today sparks instant nostalgia. Every note of that song brings people back to a simpler time. When Vivian stepped onto Hollywood Boulevard and Edward looked at her with a mix of curiosity and wonder. But the legacy of Pretty Woman didn't just stop with its characters. It transformed Julia Roberts into one of Hollywood's most beloved stars, solidifying her as America's sweetheart. It reignited Richard Gere's career, proving that he could be both suave and deeply emotional. The film also shaped the romantic comedy genre for decades. It's inspiring countless stories that tried and often failed to recreate the same balance of humor, heart, and passion. What made it different was its sincerity. It didn't rely on over-the-top antics or forced misunderstandings. Instead, it was built on genuine chemistry, simple but powerful storytelling, and the idea that love could bridge even the widest gaps. Now, after 35 years, the trailer for Pretty Woman 2 leans heavily into that legacy. It doesn't ignore the past or attempt to overwrite it. Instead, it embraces everything that made the first film unforgettable. In the trailer, subtle callbacks remind fans of the journey that began in 1990. A glance at a hotel lobby, a faint melody echoing the old soundtrack, or the way Vivian and Edward smile at each other. All of these visual cues trigger waves of nostalgia. The audience doesn't just see two actors. They see decades of history rushing back. That's the true magic of this sequel concept. It understands that Pretty Woman isn't just a film in people's memories, it's a feeling. It's a story that became part of their own lives. For fans who grew up with the film, watching Gere and Roberts return isn't just about seeing favorite characters again, it's about reflecting on their own journeys. Many who first watched Pretty Woman were young, dreaming of fairy tales, hopeful about love. Now they're older, perhaps married, divorced, or still searching for something real. The sequel offers a mirror, a reminder that even after years of living, the heart still longs for connection. That's why the film's legacy matters so much today. It isn't frozen in 1990, it continues to evolve with the audience, proving that love stories never truly end. They just find new chapters waiting to be told. The heart of any sequel lies in its premise. And Pretty Woman to 2025 dares to ask a question many films avoid. What happens after the fairy tale ending? The original story tied a perfect bow around. Vivian and Edward's romancy climbed the fire escape with flowers in hand. She embraced him, and the credits rolled. But life isn't a movie, and the decades since that moment have been long, complicated, and filled with challenges. The new trailer teases a world where Vivian and Edward are not frozen in time, but have lived full lives, with all the joys and heartbreaks that come with them. This isn't the glossy fantasy of 1990. This is love seen through the lens of age, wisdom, and the scars of reality in this reimagined continuation. Vivian is no longer the woman searching for belonging. She has built her life, carved out independence, and stood tall against the world's judgments. The trailer hints at her having a career, perhaps in fashion or philanthropy, something that ties back to her transformation in the original. But beneath her success is a lingering emptiness. Glamour of her world cannot replace the connection she once had with Edward. For Edward, the years have softened the edges of the cold businessman we once knew. He's older now, reflective, and perhaps a little regretful. The trailer suggests he has faced loss, maybe the collapse of his empire, maybe the death of someone close. Or maybe just the quiet realization that money and power mean little without love. The brilliance of this new concept lies in how it bridges past and present. In one moment of the trailer, we see Edward standing alone in a high-rise office, staring out at the Los Angeles skyline. His face shows the weight of a man who built everything but feels the ache of what he lost. In the next moment, Vivian appears, framed in soft light, carrying herself with confidence but also vulnerability. Their reunion isn't dramatic at first. It's quiet, almost hesitant. This is not to young lovers discovering each other for the first time, but to souls revisiting something unfinished. The tension comes not from whether they'll fall in love, but whether they can trust love again after so many years apart. New story also hints at fresh conflicts. Younger characters enter the scene, perhaps Vivian's daughter or Edward's protege people, who represent the new generation, who see love differently than the couple who lived their fairy tale decades ago. These characters bring fresh energy, but they also stir up tension. Will Vivian and Edward be forced to confront the ways they hurt each other in the past? Will they find that the love they once shared is too fragile to survive the years? Or will the challenges of the present give them the chance to redefine what it means to be soulmates in the modern world? Visually, the trailer balances nostalgia with reinvention. We see echoes of the past, a limousine cruising through Beverly Hills, Vivian laughing in a glamorous dress, Edward watching her with quiet admiration. But we also see new-toned scenes of solitude, darker lighting, and moments that suggest struggle rather than perfection. The story isn't about reliving the magic of 1990, but about creating a new kind of magic that belongs to 2025. The charm of the original was in its innocence. The charm of the sequel is in its honesty. What makes this premise so unique is that it doesn't shy away from the reality of time.
Oh.
Many sequels try to recapture the exact same energy as the original, pretending nothing has changed. Pretty Woman 2 does the opposite, embraces change. It acknowledges that Vivian and Edward are no longer who they were, and that's exactly what makes their story worth telling again. Love stories about youth are common, but love stories about maturity, regret, forgiveness, and second chances are rare. This film, as teased by the trailer, offers a romance not just for the young, but for everyone who has lived, loved, lost, and still dares to hope. And at the core of it all lies the question that will carry the sequel: can a fairy tale survive in the real world? Pretty Woman 2 doesn't give away the answer, but it promises to explore it with depth, honesty, and a touch of that old magic fans have carried in their hearts for 35 years. Asterisk. The first trailer for Pretty Woman to 2025 doesn't waste time pulling audiences back into the world they've longed to revisit. Every frame is carefully designed to trigger nostalgia while also surprising viewers with something new. The trailer begins in silence, with a slow fading of the Beverly Hills skyline at sunset. The city looks both familiar and different glossy. Towers rise where older buildings once stood. Neon lights reflect on streets that feel both glamorous and lonely. Then, a soft piano version of Roy Orbison's classic, Oh, Pretty Woman plays in the background, immediately drawing fans back to the film that started it all. The camera pans down to reveal Vivian standing in front of a high-end boutique. She's not the wide-eyed dreamer from decades ago. She's composed, stylish, and clearly successful. The smile is still there, but it's touched with maturity, telling us she has lived a full life. The trailer then cuts to Edward, introduced in a very different way. He's in a sleek but sterile office, surrounded by glass walls that reflect the emptiness he feels. He doesn't speak at first. In one shot, he opens a drawer and pulls out a small photo of Vivian from years ago, hinting that she never truly left his mind. This quiet moment hits harder than any line of dialogue, reminding audiences that the chemistry and history between these two characters runs deep. From here, the trailer shifts to quicker edits, teasing fragments of the story without revealing too much. We see a brief shot of Vivian walking into a gala, dressed in an elegant gown that mirrors her iconic red dress from the first film. Gasps ripple through the fictional crowd, and the camera catches Edward noticing her from across the room. The electricity of that first glance is unmistakable, echoing the energy of their original meeting but layered with decades of untold history. Their eyes lock, and for a moment time seems to freeze. Fans who watched the trailer described this single look as the moment they realized the sequel was going to be something truly special. The trailer also introduces new characters, though their roles remain shrouded in mystery. One shot shows a younger woman, possibly Vivian's daughter, confronting her mother with the line, "Are you sure about letting him back in?" Another shows a younger man in Edward's office, perhaps a business partner or rival, warning him not to repeat old mistakes. These scenes hint that the sequel isn't just about two people rediscovering each other. It's also about the people around them, who challenge, question, and influence their choices. What makes the trailer particularly unique is how it balances Lighthearted nostalgia with emotional gravity. In one playful sequence, we see Vivian laughing while trying on clothes. A clear nod to the iconic shopping scene from the first movie. But instead of a saleswoman judging her, this time it's her daughter who playfully critiques her choices. It's a clever reinvention that honors the past while introducing a fresh dynamic. Later, the tone shifts dramatically when we see Edward. Alone on a rainy night, sitting in his car with a bouquet of flowers resting on the passenger seat. His expression is heavy with regret, and the scene suggests a pivotal moment of vulnerability. As the music builds, the trailer intercuts scenes of passion and conflict. There's a glimpse of Vivian and Edward dancing under soft lights, followed by an argument in which Vivian says, "You can't just walk back into my life as if nothing happened." Edward's reply is cut off, leaving the audience desperate to hear what he says next. The editing is deliberate. Every scene raises questions without giving answers. It's keeping the mystery alive. The final sequence of the trailer mirrors the famous rooftop ending of the original film. We see Edward standing outside Vivian's apartment building at night, looking up with determination. Instead of climbing a fire escape, this time he simply calls her name. The trailer cuts to black before revealing her response, leaving audiences with chills. The screen fades to the title card, Pretty Woman 2, 2025. In that moment, fans are left breathless, wondering how the story will unfold, and whether the couple that once captured their hearts truly find their happily ever after this time. This trailer isn't just a teaser, it's an emotional journey packed into 2 minutes. It acknowledges the past, plays with audience expectations, and leaves just enough mystery to spark endless conversations. Fans who grew up with Vivian and Edward are reminded of why they fell in love with the story in the first place, while new audiences are pulled in by the promise of a romance that feels both timeless and fresh.